Well, moving forward, we are on to the next one, which speaks about the decision making in learning and development. A very simple but a logical method, which is enabled with voice technology and conversational AI. And for that, I would like to invite Ms. Chetna Munshi, the Director for Global Transformation and DNI Learning Lead with Ericsson. Please welcome on stage, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody. I know by now I think we've had a lot of information, lot of takeaways, lot of things that we have learned. But I know that some of us post-lunch is not the best time to kind of have another loaded session, so I hope I keep it light. Am I audible? Okay, great. So I'll keep it engaging. I'll try to talk about things which are relevant, which will help you, at least you have some takeaways at the end of the session. So what I thought I'll kind of twist a little, in my session is, so we're talking about how do we enhance business decisions. Now, business decisions from an L&D standpoint, so that's the lens that we're going to be talking about today. I'll start with the first part, which is what are some of the challenges from an L&D team that we face, and I believe all of us are part of L&D in some, or most of us would be part of L&D or managing L&D. So can I start with maybe 2 or 3 comments on what are your top 1 or 2 business challenges that you are currently trying to grapple with? Because let's keep it a little real. Let's try and see if we can kind of brainstorm and get to some point where we feel that, yes, this is something maybe we haven't thought about, or this is what some other organization is also trying to do in that same space, which will be something I can take back. So just one challenge as an L&D professional that you are facing when it comes to driving business decisions. Anybody, I need 2 or 3 comments, and then we can maybe get started with that. Yeah, Nishant.
So one of the main problems which we face, I'm from HCL Tech. My name is Nishant Srivastava. And the challenge which we face is when we are approached by the delivery team for any need, right? And they, being a facilitator, I would not need this, but anyway. So, the main issue which we face is when they come up with a problem, we say that what is the matrix which is getting impacted? What is the core problem area? You're telling me that you would need decision making, you would need critical thinking, you would need adaptability, agility. But what is the core problem? What is the matrix which is getting impacted? Can we see some examples where if we cover these areas, how would we measure the impact after we have done this training?
Yeah.
That is where I don't.
And we don't get
the
most
response.
of the times.
Yeah, most of the times they need a vanilla kind of a training which will have all these elements covered, and you do it, and we go back to the client and they say that these are the trainings which we have done.
Thanks, Nishant. So Nishant is my old-time colleague, so thanks, Nishant, for starting the conversation. I'll come to this question, but I'll take 1 or 2 more comments, and then we'll get started. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, ma'am. I'm from fintech background, and I'm supposed to manage the upskilling and the knowledge information of more than 2 lakh channel partners that we have. So what I'm struggling right now is the knowledge retention rate about the product knowledge or any upskilling program that we are running for them, because even through LMS we are doing in coverage also it take weeks for covering 2 lakh channel partners, and after that. We get so many products also back to back, so just struggling how to manage the retention part about that. Yeah.
Just one more. Thank you. I'll come back, as I said. Just one more. Yeah, sir.
ROI and ROE, I think that's who has been already asked. My way of thinking is different. To make something So, as a L&D expert, we can somehow gauge ROI or ROE. But as a employee, as a trainee, how he can show that he has contributed because of that particular program, because of that particular learning or not?
Thank you. So let me try and cover most of what we just spoke about. So first one, where Nishant said that business most of the time do not really have any concrete metric basis which they say that they want something like critical thinking or something which is the right thing to cover. So what came to my mind when I was hearing you, Nishant, was it's like I go to a doctor, I've already Googled my symptoms. So it's like I go to the doctor and tell them that give me an antibiotic A because these are my symptoms and this is my problem. So I've already decided what my problem is. I've already to an extent decided what my solution should be. So I am so-called going to an expert, which in this case is a doctor, and I'm just maybe seeking some kind of a validation so that they give me what I think I need to be given, which may be correct, which most of the time is not correct. And that is why I come from a family of a lot of doctors. And one of their major frustrations these days is, and many actually doctors have put this board outside on their, outside their cabin saying that don't enter after Googling, the symptoms, because, we end up getting more anxious. We end up already deciding what we should be given, and if that is not what the doctor kind of thinks, we kind of say, bekar doctor paise zaya ho gaye, right? So coming to this, I think one of the things we always face a challenge as L&D is how do we get to the crux of what needs to be done, rather than what is being said that needs to be done, right? I remember, and I have close to about 3 decades of experience, and most of that in L&D, and before that, I was into software development, and during my L&D career, most of my roles have been where I have been on the other side while being in L&D, doing kind of consulting for my clients and for my business stakeholders. And what you just said, Nishant, was one of the things which was the most, or one of the most common issues we were facing, which is how do I even reach a level of surety to say actually problem yahi hai jo main customer ya business stakeholder se sun rahi hu. If not, even more difficult, how do I convince my stakeholder that actually the problem may not be what you think the problem is, but something different. So convincing my stakeholder that you don't really have a cough and a cold, it's a symptom, but actual problem is something else because of which it is manifesting as cough and cold. So that is another skill, and that is another challenge that we face. So I think one of the things which I can share, as an L&D professional is what conversation you have with the stakeholder, the outcome of that to a very large extent, and I would probably peg it at 70 to 80%, is how much do you know about your stakeholder and how much do you know about the business before you even have that conversation with your stakeholder. Because what that stakeholder will tell you will come from some experiences, something that they have gone through in the last couple of months, right? But if you know a lot of what has been happening with that stakeholder, with that business unit, whatever they are telling you, at least you would know where is that coming from. It's not something out of the blue for you. So what you can then value add as an L&D is come back with your homework, come back with certain examples, come back with certain conversations to drive that conversation in an area where you feel that is the right place that this conversation should be, and your stakeholder also feels comfortable and confident that whatever she or he is saying is not coming from thin air. You build that credibility as an L&D partner because you've done your homework. You have had a lot of mulling over data points, reports, and I'll come to that a little bit. What are some of the things that we can do or how should we really tackle it? But basically, you are giving that sense of confidence to your stakeholder to say, if you are saying this is the problem, and these are the things that I have tried to figure out by talking to a few people, by the data, by the reports, there are many things that we have access to, right? And between the two of you, hopefully, you will come to a point where you will agree on what actually the problem is, which is a good starting point because you don't have to then spend time on convincing your stakeholder, because half the time, I think, we spend on convincing the stakeholder as to what the problem was. So your starting point is defined. That issue that you are trying to solve is kind of locked. Rolling out the solution, in my mind, is the simplest. That doesn't take time. That doesn't take a lot of effort if what you have done beforehand is in place. So that's kind of the first one. Do you guys agree to what I just said? Does it make sense? Or do you have an experience which says otherwise? Any show of hands saying kind of sounds, sensible, logical, makes sense, or I have a different experience, and if yes, please feel free to share that. Quick one, we need to move ahead. Yes, agree, no, we don't agree, maybe. We don't know.
It is only to raise awareness about this topic, and there is no measurement criteria which you have. It is just that you want to raise awareness. I can tell you what to do. I can recommend a few courses, maybe on self-learning platforms. We can give you some recorded sessions also. That is something, because a lot of times they have to show that they have done the training.
Yeah.
Right, but if it is really something which needs to be done to create an impact, then we need to create a learning journey, which is a continuous learning journey with some interventions at in a periodic manner, so that we can create an impact.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, we just
Hello.
kind of spoke about it. So one of the first challenges or major challenges most of us at some point in our career would have faced is some kind of a resistance from our senior leaders or leaders in general, which means either they're not sure that what you are telling them is the issue is actually the issue that in their mind that needs to be solved, or the method by which you are trying to go about putting that solution in place may not be very convincing for them. The second one is what you are trying to do doesn't really, at least in their mind, or even in your mind as L&D, align with what are the strategic objectives of the organization to which you are trying to solve the problem for. So these are the two at a very broad level. There are many more, but these are the two major challenges all of us face in some time or the other as an L&D professional. The other one is lack of data-driven insights. Now, I don't think this is so much of a problem now, because I believe all of us, in some shape or form, have access to a lot of data which can tell us a lot about what is happening in the business. Again, I can kind of very quickly quote one of the things we tried doing in my current organization, Ericsson. Ericsson is a telecom service provider. We are actually doing telecom services for almost all the major telecom vendors in the country and actually across the world, like Airtel, Vodafone, Reliance, and so on. Now, couple of years back, one of our largest, businesses internally, we were not able to get the kind of projects, we were not able to win the projects that we were pitching for as a sales team. The reason that was given, or one of the major reasons that was given, was we don't have the required skills for us to pitch for those projects. From an L&D standpoint, we were doing, in our mind, everything correct. We were doing the right number of hours, we were doing the right number of skilling. I remember at that point in time, just in India, and this is, I'm talking about 2016, 17, 18 kinds, I was running more than 250 classroom sessions a month, which is fairly big, right? Now, what surprised me was that after doing so much of training, why is so-and-so business unit not happy with the skilling part of what is being done? Because they said the projects they were not getting was because they did not have the right skills. We had everything in place in terms of the annual learning plan and everything was in place. Now, what we did was, instead of going to so how our learning plans generally get made, I don't know how it works in other organizations, but that's how we would do it is, I would go to the stakeholder sometime in Q1 or so and say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, what do you want us to do for this year as a part of our learning calendar? Right? So they'll tell me, ये करना है, ये करना है, ये करना है, इसके लिए मेरे को ये 50 लोगों की training करवानी है, इसके लिए मुझे, I want this to be done externally, internally, and then the calendar will get made and so on and so forth. Now, when we got this feedback and when we saw that the projects was an issue, we tried a little different approach where I didn't go to the stakeholder the next year. I went to my sales team. I told them, give me the details of all the projects that we lost, we couldn't get. Particularly where so-and-so business unit should have been the one who could have given you those skills or those people with those skills. But what I hear from them is the skills were not there and hence the projects didn't come. We got those details. Obviously, it took us some time to kind of, do the whole thing. What we realized was there were a lot of skills which we had, and there were a lot of skills which obviously we did not have. We created a learning plan basis those gaps. So what we did was, if these are the skills we do not have, do we hire them from the market, or do I upskill some people with the similar skills and bridge the gap, and they should be ready in X number of weeks or days? The skills we had, but maybe the depth was not there, or the number of people with those skills were not there, that required us cross-skilling or, those kind of things. So we made a complete plan. After we made a plan, then we went to the same stakeholder next year to say, this is what my sales report this is what your sales report for last year tells me. Hence, these are the skills which we need to cross-skill for. These are the skills we need to upskill for. And these are the skills we do not have, we need to buy from the market, which is through the talent acquisition process. Please validate and make whatever changes you feel need to be made in that plan. So, one, I'm not going to my stakeholder with a blank paper. Two, I'm going to my stakeholder giving them the clear idea that I know what I'm talking about. Whatever data I had is not coming from my imagination, it is coming from a credible source. Third, whatever upskilling, cross-skilling I'm trying to do is leading to a business outcome. So I'm linking it to a strategic outcome. What we ended up actually doing is, after 1 year of doing all this exercise that we just spoke about, we got 90% of the projects we had lost. It wasn't that L&D had become suddenly very efficient. No. We were putting in the effort where it was needed. our stakeholders had complete buy-in of what we were doing, so we did not have to convince them and spend our time for budget nahi hai or vendor nahi mil raha or itna humko, so those conversations were no longer relevant. So we simply went on to getting it done. Right? Now the crux of this is how do you leverage what is available within your system? Many a times we look for a solution outside. With all the buzz around AI, I'm still convinced if you don't know what to do with that AI, it's useless. So cut the clutter, get into what your problem is, then see what tool, that could be AI or non-AI, is what actually will deliver the results. What we do is the other way around. We first look at the tool, the most fanciest tool that is available in the market, and then try to force fit our problem into this one, saying, okay, this tool will give me every solution that I think we need to solve for. So maybe it's whether the horse comes first or the carriage comes first, right? So if you are able to start with what is my problem statement, then work around what solution, with that solution, is there a tool available which will be more efficient in making that solution more viable, that solution faster, more efficient, cost effective, blah, blah, blah. That is when I think as an L&D, you've done a fairly decent job. So we just spoke about most of it. So engaging with the key stakeholders, of course, if you have a good alignment on what you are trying to do, how does that align with your strategic business objectives? Of course, right communication, getting the right stakeholders on board, I think you've done a decent job. In the process, you are building a credibility for your team. While we are doing all that, I think I did talk about, leveraging your sales team, leveraging your other teams, whichever is relevant, collaborating with them, and then coming and saying, I got this. This is what the insights tell me. This is what the data that I have been able to gather indicates. Is this what actually the problem or what we should be working on, or is there something else that we are missing out which you want to add? While doing all that, what we are in the process, I think most of the time doing is how do we incorporate technology? How do we stay more agile? How do we think on our feet? Because in the space that we are currently, everything is changing very, very fast. So we need to do what we need to do internally, but at the same time, we need to have a very clear overview of what is happening outside, whether that is technology, whether that's a best practice, whether that is what tools would be relevant to what I want to do. Incorporate that. You don't actually need too much of budget to run a good L&D, is what I feel. Lot of what you want to do is, at least for some time, going to be available to you to test out for free. If that is what really makes business sense to you, go ahead and make that investment, but you still have a lot of time to reach that level to know, is this the tool? You can keep kind of trying out different things till you reach that level. I'm a big believer in data. I always feel we still, as an HR fraternity and as an L&D, we are not still very, very comfortable using data the way we should be. I think if you do understand data well, if you present the data well, the time that you will be spending with engaging with your stakeholders, convincing your stakeholders, should kind of come down to a large extent because the data does the talking. I'm just kind of giving an example here. So currently I had a kind of a little mismatch of a portfolio in a way. On one end, I handle diversity and inclusion, just one more minute. And on the other hand, I also handle compliance learning globally, both. So one is very, like a horse, blinkers, I will not look left or right, I need it to be done. We have a compliance training completion of more than 95% in an organization with 110,000 people globally, right? Diversity and inclusion, anything and everything under the earth which keeps changing. So what we try doing here is content creation, e-learning and other content. These are some of the tools that you see here. We are kind of testing out. We have a Glean, we have a Microsoft 365. We have all these have some element of AI or a large element of AI built into it. Colossian. So what we are looking at, and this is a live example that I'm talking about as we speak, for next year, this is what we have pitched to our CHRO and the team, globally, saying that if this is what we would do, this is a typical, most of you from L&D would understand, what we are trying to do here. We are looking at a cost saving of up to 50%. It's a good number for everybody to wake up to. How we will get it done, what goes into the background, there's a lot of working behind it. But what I'm trying to say here is, look at the time saved. Communication rollout, about 60% time saved. Translations, because we translate all our content in more than 25 languages globally, and purely from a compliance perspective. E-learning course, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm saying is, time saving, cost saving, use the right tools, leverage the data, more or less, that is what I think my message should be. If we do all that, hopefully things should get smoother, easier, faster, more efficient as we speak. Thank you. If there are any questions, maybe I'll take them offline. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful presentation.